This is William Michael of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, and I'd like to talk a bit in response to a question I received today. The question was, how can Catholic families, or how can Christian families who are studying in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy help with the mission and the work of the Academy? How can folks help with this work of restoring classical Catholic education, real classical Catholic education, and the culture that comes from it? And this is a really profound question in the 21st century, because one of the problems that I see in Christian culture today is that very few Christians are with the times when it comes to communication. There are many Christian families who are overwhelmed by modern media and communication, and they have chosen to set up modern media as evil and set up old-fashioned communication as good. They'll say things like they prefer printed books. They'll say they don't like their children using computers. And they'll do things like this, and they'll do this also in business and in their own personal life and so on, setting up this division between modern communications media and what we might call old-fashioned communications media. And they've made this spiritual battle out of a matter of technology. And as they've done this, one of the things that they've done is they have basically made themselves irrelevant in modern society and invisible. They've silenced themselves in modern society. And this is a major error, I believe, on the part of Christian people. I was talking with my wife this morning in a related conversation. We were talking about all of the attention that's being given to electric vehicles and how we're trying to reduce the costs and the effects of gas-powered vehicles and things like that, and how we can improve transportation. And there's all this talk about improving transportation, all of this research, all of this development to improve transportation. And what I mentioned to my wife was, while all of this is going on, while all of this talk is going on, and all of this money is being invested in the challenge of improving transportation, what everyone seems to be ignoring is that communications technology is making it less and less necessary to travel. In all of this talk about saving the environment by moving from gas-powered to electric cars, the one issue that everyone seems to be ignoring is the fact that we don't even need to drive to the office anymore. We don't need to fly across the country to have a face-to-face conversation. Communication technology is constantly increasing, and our ability to communicate face-to-face, seeing one another, sharing all different sorts of media, whether it's print media, and documents and papers to sign, videos, audio files, links to web pages, emails, on and on and on. The ability for us to share information, to communicate with each other in a personal way is becoming more and more convenient remotely by means of modern technology. And I think the bigger question than how can we improve transportation is simply, how can we work and order our lives so that we depend on transportation less and less? communications technology is so radically improving the quality of life, the ability to work, the affordability and cost of living. We're talking about improving cars when we don't even need to drive to work anymore. So this is an example of how I think we can miss the mark and ask the wrong question, fight the wrong battle, and so on. And this is what I think Christians are doing by setting up this battle between communications technology and old-fashioned media. They're just spiting themselves. If we look at how business is developing, how society is developing, we're moving more and more to internet-based communication. This makes opportunities available to our families that simply would not be available geographically. It's not that they make them cheaper, it's not that they make them better, it's that opportunities are now available to families that would not be available if it weren't for the internet. And a perfect example of this is the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. Classical Catholic education, real classical education, would not be available to your family if it wasn't for communications technology that's developing in the 21st century. And we have to realize that. We have to realize that this communication technology is giving Christians more than anyone else advantages, even if they're just temporary. It's giving us advantages that benefit us more than they benefit anyone else. And it's an opportunity, I believe, for us to seize these advantages and make good of them, because they may go away. It's true, they may be temporary, but it's an opportunity that we need to seize hold of. The opportunity to give your children a classical Catholic education for a fraction of the cost of a private school education in your own home, in a generation that really is, if we're all honest, it's just an uncomfortable generation. It's not that any of us are in danger, but there's just a sense of cultural instability that I think makes social life difficult at this present time. It wasn't like this 30 or 40 years ago. When I was a kid, I don't just say this to sound nostalgic. The world that I lived in as a 15-year-old kid was very different than the life my children live in as 15-year-old kids. It's very, very different. And so I think we need to take advantage of this communications media and learn how to use it for good. Just as Christians learned to use the printing press for good, just as Christians learned to sail across the Atlantic Ocean and use transportation developments for good, we have to use the developments of our generation and bring them into the service of the Christian life. So this is the challenge. And when I'm asked, what can we do to help? There are a couple of things that normally come up that really aren't that helpful. First of all, many have good intentions and they say, well, we'd like to help. Can we become teachers? Can we become tutors? And the answer is, do you know the content? Do you know the classical liberal arts? Are you studying the curriculum? If not, how can you even think to be a teacher? This isn't public education. And you see how this mentality works. How can you possibly be a teacher if you haven't mastered the content? So when someone asks, can I be a teacher? I return the question and simply say, I don't know, can you teach these subjects? And the answer usually is no, because they haven't been studied. This isn't a modern school where we simply can hire people to fill positions and follow the lesson plans that are published by some modern publisher. It's real education that requires real mastery from the teachers to help the students. So no, at this present time, there's no way for anyone to help with teaching. The only people who could possibly help with teaching would be students who work through the program, learn the subjects, receive from me the help of my tutoring, and then add to that their own work in the future. So in the future, I believe there will be opportunities to help with teaching and tutoring and things like that, but that's not possible now. So no one can help me with the teaching work until they've done the studies, and they're welcome to do the studies. I'm also asked at times whether financial donations can help the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. And as much as financial donations are helpful, obviously we have costs of operating to maintain the website and just allow me especially to have the time to work so many hours where I don't make any money doing what I'm doing for the development of the program. Donations are very helpful, just in helping to cover the costs when time is spent doing work that doesn't generate any income. So yes, donations are always helpful. But at the same time, I'm working to develop a program that isn't some giant factory that just burns through tons of cash every month. I'm trying to develop a financially sustainable educational program that doesn't depend on tons of financial contributions. So that's really not a priority. Again, it's very helpful, and the donations have made the work possible through the year, but that's still not the most helpful thing that families can do. When I tell families what the most helpful thing is that they can do, they usually have no interest in doing it. And that's one of the problems we face. And it's related to this aversion to the modern media and communication technology. The most important thing that families can do to help the Classical Liberal Arts Academy is to get on the internet and share information about the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. That is the most helpful thing people can do. And like I said, it's disappointing to many because they've decided that criticizing Facebook and criticizing Twitter and complaining about Google and buying into conspiracy theories about the big tech companies and how they're all out to get us, and it's handcuffed Christian society, and they're choosing to let other groups take control of the future of communication, and it's a very foolish decision. But if they would learn to see it as an opportunity to promote the Christian faith and promote Christian learning and draw people into the Christian faith, they would find that it's one of the most amazing opportunities that the Christian church has ever had. But when I tell people the best thing you can do is get on the internet and tell people about classical Catholic education, they often aren't interested in that. And so spitefully, they won't do it, and that just leaves me to do it. So if you wonder, why am I always on the internet? Why am I always on Facebook? Why am I always on YouTube? Why am I posting on Twitter and getting into conversations on this platform and that platform and posting posts on the website, on and on and on? Why am I doing it? Because it's necessary. It's necessary. It's necessary. It's how modern society works. Modern society is looking to the internet for its information, Google searches are the means by which people seek out products and services and solutions to problems. It's where they ask questions, on and on and on. When we don't share Christian information on the internet, what it does is it simply makes that Christian culture, those Christian services and products, it makes them invisible. It essentially removes them from modern society. And that's why this is really important. That's what social media is for. Social media is supposed to be a place where people share information. And what kind of information are they sharing? If you look around, most people are sharing nonsense on social media. They're retweeting some silly meme, which is fine, but they're not sharing anything substantial or significant. They're on Facebook, just reading what other people write, maybe again sharing some funny picture or funny story or a joke or a link to a news article or something like that. But they're not using the media, they're not using the platform for anything substantial. They're not using it to try to influence this modern society, to try to put good things before other people's eyes, give people good things to read, recommend good products and services, share personal stories about experiences, what they're learning, what they're studying, a video they've watched that's actually edifying, that teaches them something. We don't use these media in a responsible way. We use them like children. We don't use them like Christian adults. And we greatly underestimate the importance of sharing information online. So when I tell families, the way that you can help the most significantly, is to share content from the Academy that you enjoy. Share your story. Tell people about what you're studying. Tell people what you're learning in your courses. Tell people what you've learned in a video. Share these things. Promote these studies. They find that to be not very exciting, but they can understand that this whole work depends on news of the Academy making its way through Christian circles. Almost everyone that contacts me in the Academy says something like, I never even heard of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. It's very common to hear parents saying that they can't believe they never heard of it, or none of their friends know about it, their homeschool group doesn't talk about it. And there are reasons for that sometimes too. Sometimes other groups intentionally don't talk about the Classical Liberal Arts Academy because of the fact that we're explaining what real classical Catholic education is, and they actually prefer to conceal that from other people because they don't want to pursue it themselves. And that's unfortunate. Many families don't know. You'll see, you can find an article on the internet that talks about reviews of homeschool programs, and they'll go through 20 programs and not include the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, even though none of those programs reviewed would show up in a search for Catholic homeschool programs. So there is a great deal of ignorance, and it's difficult to get the word out. That's why I'm always working to do so. But at the same time, some are also concealing knowledge of the Classical Liberal Arts Academy because of the consequences of sharing that information. But sharing information, and like I said, not just empty, shallow advertising and links, but your own story, what you're learning, what you're studying, why you chose to study this, why you chose this course, how this lesson has helped you, things like that. Your own story is what you're supposed to be sharing through social media. It's the most effective form of advertising. And it's vitally important to the success of our work in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. Now, there are a number of different ways to do this, but the most important is to simply find platforms that you already use and enjoy using, and just copy and paste links and write some comments. But understand that with social media, this is another problem that folks have. Understand that when you post on social media, it only appears on the feeds of your friends or followers until it's flushed out by other posts. And so you can't think that posting on social media is like posting an article on a blog. Posting on social media is like making a comment in a conversation. After a few minutes, that comment is gone. And so there's a need to post frequently on social media in order to have any kind of influence. And that's why I don't recommend anything elaborate. Simply sharing links with brief comments and things like that is the best way to share on social media, because information on social media has to be posted frequently in order to be seen by others, because everyone else's feed is constantly being refreshed with new posts. So social media posts have to be frequent. If you'd like to post less frequently, then what I recommend you do is start a blog or start some kind of online journal where you share your studies and experiences and things you're learning and things like that. A blog is more of a static or slow-moving means of communicating online. And I always recommend that all Christian people should have blogs where they share their own stories, their own experiences, things they're learning, things they're thinking, questions they have, resources they find helpful. Blogging is very important, and it's far more influential than many people think, because they simply don't understand how it works. They don't understand how it works. When you write a blog article and link, let's say, to the Classical Liberal Arts Academy website, a course, a page, an article, a video, whatever, that link that you share is seen by Google's crawlers, Google's software that is constantly monitoring activity on the website, which of course Christians try to turn into some evil power. It's simply tracking what's going on the internet to improve the quality of search results. If you write a blog article and share a link to a course page in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, that link in your blog article tells Google that people are interested in that resource online. And Google gives credit to websites that are frequently linked to by outside sources. And your blog articles and links and things like that are actually very influential in affecting the results of Google searches and other search engines as well. But this is how it works. If I write an article on my website and link to another page on my website, Google doesn't consider that link to be influential because I'm just recommending my own stuff. But when Google sees a link from a different web address, a different domain, linking to my domain, that's a signal to Google that what's on my domain is significant and people like it. And that's why these links, especially from a blog or a personal website, they're very significant because they tell the Google search engines this website has interesting stuff that people are sharing and recommending to others. That's how the internet was designed to work, and that's how the Google search works. So you can be very influential in helping other families find, even through a simple Google search, by blogging and sharing links or sharing links on a personal website, things like that. Any website where you are in discussions with people or commenting and sharing, those links into the Academy website from outside sources influence Google search results and push the Classical Liberal Arts Academy up through the search results to the top. And so it's important to understand how those things work, because you can have a significant influence in what people see when they search for different topics. If someone searches for Christian homeschool, your blog can have an influence on what search results appear. You might not believe that that's true, but I can prove it by telling you to go ahead and search for something like that. And when you look at the search results, you'll notice that some of them are personal blogs. Some of the top results are just personal blogs. A homeschool mother writes a review of a curriculum, and it ends up on the front page of the Google search results and influences people's research and decision making. It's very significant. And Christians neglect this kind of work. Most people are going to Google and searching for solutions to problems they have or answers to questions they have. And by writing articles and posting information and doing this work as Christians, we can influence those search results and help people find the best resources. That's why I'm always posting content. That's what I'm trying to do. It's how the modern information culture works. And Christians have to learn how to do it, not only to help the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, but your own lives as well, your own businesses, your own interests and pursuits, your own activities. This is how the internet works. And so by learning how it works and then using it intelligently and purposefully, you can have a very significant long-term on the success of our work in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy. And that's really what I'm concerned with. I'm not concerned so much about getting a new customer today or finding a new enrollment today. That's really not how I pursue things. I'm really interested in building a sustainable, long-term solution for Catholic education that is built on a solid foundation. And one of the greatest assets that we can build in the Classical Liberal Arts Academy is influence online. This is called search engine optimization, or SEO results. We're trying to build a strong foundation of a presence in search results that will last long-term and help people to find our program when they search for any topics in Christian education or homeschooling or culture. And the way to build that long-term influence is through constantly adding new and helpful content to the internet. So when I tell people that this really is the best way you can help us, both now and long-term, it's often met with disinterest, but I can't emphasize enough how significant this kind of work is. And that's really what's needed. That's what I'm working on myself. Whenever I'm not teaching the students, whenever I'm not working on lesson content, I'm constantly trying to publish helpful content online to help people find true classical education and enjoy the benefits of it. It's a necessary responsibility that comes with this work. So that's what I would recommend if someone wants to help. And again, this is not just how you can help the Classical Liberal Arts Academy, but how you can help promote Catholic culture in general, or your own business, your own family pursuits, and so on. Is learn how the internet works. Learn how social media marketing works. Learn how Google search results work, and do things thoughtfully and intentionally to try to influence modern information culture. It's an important mission field for Christian families, and it's one that we're neglecting, and we're going to lose if we don't get our act together and understand how important this is. So that's what I would recommend for families. If you want to help, learn how to post helpful content on social media platforms, personal blogs, private websites, and things like that. Recommend resources, and do so frequently because of the reality that people's feeds are constantly refreshing. It's got to be frequent to have any significance or to be helpful. So think about how these things work. Think about how you yourself use the internet and realize that other people use it in the same way. And think of what you could do that would be helpful to someone else. So that's what I ask more than anything else. That the development of the program is just a matter of time. It's going to come together one step at a time, year by year. Financially, I'm trying not to make it depend on lots of outside funding. So donations are always helpful on the short-term scale, but I'm trying to make it not be dependent on donations. It always has been self-funded, and donations have just come in periodically to help us maintain stability. But I'm trying to intentionally not depend on donations, which is probably strange to hear, but I think that's wise, considering we want our program to be free from financial pressure so that we can focus purely on our mission. And what really is worth tens of thousands of dollars a month is simple internet information sharing, links, your personal story and experiences and so on. That visibility on the internet is worth thousands and thousands of dollars per month. Because if I were to go and pay for advertising, that's what it would cost. It would cost thousands and thousands of dollars per month. And you can help eliminate those costs by simply sharing information and doing so in an intelligent way. So that would be my answer to how people can help. Just share information with friends and relatives who are interested in education. Share interest with your parishes and churches. Share information, with them. Use your social media platforms, personal blog, private websites, and so on to promote resources that you would like to support, and realize that work is worth thousands and thousands of dollars a month and is greatly appreciated. So if you'd like to talk more about how you can do this practically, just get in touch, because I can help you to understand this more. It's a big part of what I do every day. But it's a matter of putting rhetoric into practice, not in the 1800s, but in the 21st century, because this is where rhetoric needs to be put to work, is on the internet and through social media, blogging, writing articles for public websites. There's just so many opportunities that Christians are neglecting because they don't understand how the internet works and how easy it is really to influence results on the internet. So that's what I would like to ask Christians to consider for helping. And in the future, as students work through the program, there will certainly be opportunities for teaching and tutoring and writing and all kinds of work in the academy, but it's just not time for that now. So I hope that's helpful. Again, if you have any questions about how to do this or specific instructions for how to go about these things, get in touch, because I'm happy to talk about them, because I believe that this is, like I said, this is how rhetoric applies to Christian communication in our generation. I hope that's helpful. God bless.